This is your phone.
Did it miss all the important bits?
Well, it's a brain, so we tend to think of all of it as quite important.
But it will be okay.
We hope so.
So the entire premise of this actual movie is, and I thought it was a TV show when I first saw it, is the kid somehow gets a cell phone within his brain. This is realistic that someone can actually survive this part of it. It'll just do nothing. You know, the doctor can't get it out because it'll cause more harm than good. But the entire premise is this gives them access to pretty much all technology and stuff like that. That is obviously very false. The fact is the interface for the brain is not the same thing as the interface for computer chips, and then even more so, I'm going to get into some other problem. So this part doesn't make sense at all because the interface itself basically is saying that, hey, I'm connected to the router there. But the thing is how does the cell phone that's in his brain actually know what shape to give that icon and stuff? And let's just theoretically just throw out some logic out the door and say he can connect to the internet through the computer chip in the brain. Fine. Well, let's say that it does some type of visual stuff. Well, how does it know what to make as far as the icon around a device? And then it goes into other problems is location and stuff like that. So basically, you're saying the cell phone is smart enough to map out the entire room and a few other things like that. It just wouldn't happen. Let's say theoretically, yes, the computer chip did somehow connect you to the internet. Fine, it's going to cause other problems than that. You're not going. It's not built for that. It won't have that interface right there.
Well, the beach one's right now.
Just want to mention at this point the actual beeping thing, that's EMI, electromagnetic interference. Check out my main channel. I got a few things on that in the past.
John?
So as far as the device in his brain picking up all signals around him, that simply wouldn't work, and it wouldn't work like that. There'll be major security flaws. However, I do want to mention there is actual devices made for that. Normal cell phones, they wouldn't be able to do what's called a man-in-the-middle hacking attack for this, where it's grabbing data and ciphering everything that is going on around them. It just simply would not have the processor or any of that. And even, let's just say that, okay, the brain, whatever, throw out the logic saying it can connect, whatever. Even with that, you'll run into some problems because the brain will have to know what to process, what's not. Because keep in mind, a kid has to stay alive, where these actual devices that are meant to do that, which is called a stingray. It's a police device that's meant to grab all the signal in the nearby location. That device is meant purely for that, when the brain is mostly meant to keep you alive. So even then, I'll be questioning how much processing power can go into that little thing, especially with that amount of signal. And then on top of that, you won't hear half of that. Basically, all you'll get is stuff like cell phone signals, people making calls to cell phone towers. And the only way that actually works with the stingray is the stingray itself, which again is a device that cops can use to get all the information from local area in the military. And how it works is it tricks all the cell phones in a nearby area to say that stingray device is the nearest tower. So all the cell phones in the nearest area tries to connect to the stingray then connects to the actual towers. So as it's transfer data back and forth, phone calls, actual data and whatever, It's just simply collecting it, and that's the man in the middle attack right there. But basically, so you're telling me the cell phone in the guy's brain tricked all the devices in the local area to thinking that his brain is the cell phone tower, including what sound like hardline phones and all the other crap that wouldn't connect to it at all. So as far as the TV there, it doesn't look like a smart TV, and based on later parts of this video, it looks like a very, very poor family that wouldn't be able to support a smart TV. So with that being said, since it's obviously not a smart TV, the TV wouldn't be sending a Wi-Fi signal or any other signal out to anything. It wouldn't be looking for Wi-Fi or anything like that. And even if it was, so you're telling me the actual phone in the brain turned into a mobile hotspot and the TV tried to connect to it and whatever, that doesn't really fly that well. Then on top of that, how do you know, like how does the phone actually know what type of interface to show for the person? That's another major problem, because all this takes coding and designing and stuff like that. And on my main channel, I get heavily into it, and this, yeah. So now we get into another problem. I think the movie is trying to make it out to be that, like, for example, that 3DS is making the interface or something like that. But here's the thing, and I saw multiple problems with this. One, again, as I said before, how does the actual cell phone know what type of interface to show for all these devices? Or these devices, they're not obviously programmed, but 3DS and all these other devices is not programmed for showing an interface for someone with that type of ability. There's just no one with that, so why would someone program for that? And that's a very particular type of person that would program, is for AR or VR type of programming. Now, here's the second thing. That 3DS with the Mario thing, that jumping around and whatever, well, here's the thing. That means that 3DS will be using processing power and other stuff to play the game or do whatever it might be a screensaver, or in this case, because I have a 3DS, I can tell you that it's not a screensaver. It's emulating as if it was playing a game, which is fine. It's cool. It's cool looking. I get that. I like this movie because of that. But in all reality, that means that 3DS is using a bunch of processing power, and it's playing itself for what reason? Design-wise, this is just horrible into itself. But even more so, the biggest problem with it is if you don't play like something like a 3DS, that battery can last for days. If you start playing it, you get a couple hours, about 8 hours or so, give or take, depending on how new the battery is. So you're telling me that thing plays even though you got the thing closed and whatever? Yeah, that's BS all around, because that means that processor and whatever is taking up power. And then you got on the last little bit, you got the desktop where it shows this interface again. I can get in before. And why is the keyboard going to have its own, stuff coming out of it? And how does it know where to place that stuff? And then we get into the last little bit as far as the kid looking out the window. And here's the problem with that aspect is I can tell you right now that you cannot find the exact location of a single device communicating without triangulation. It's one person, unless it's using the cell phone towers and whatever to triangulate, fine. And you wouldn't have as this much as far as equally spread out and whatever it may be, but let's just throw it out the door. The fact is I can tell you right now, as someone who's dealt with networking on an enterprise level, that you cannot figure out where a given device is without triangulation. And there's ways to do it with a single device, but it requires you to walk around the entire premise, and that's technically triangulation itself, unless that device is moving around quite rapidly. But basically, you move from point A to point B, and it helps figure out where that device is that's causing the problem, the jamming effect, the other effects. This is also another thing, now I think about it, is with all the inputs coming in, this will create what's called a jamming effect. A jamming effect is basically when you got too many signals coming in at one point, things trying to read too many signals or something this may be. I mean, there's a cell phone. How many signals is it supposed to read? Only one, not a whole crap ton. Obviously, it's almost impossible to count how many because it's so blurred. But as far as that goes, there's just too many signals for it to take in. So what would end up happening is it will create a jamming effect. Think of it as if you're standing in a room trying to talk to the next person next to you. You're and the next person is the only people talking. You can hear each other just fine. But now you just throw a billion people in there and they're talking too. You can't hear each other. That's what basically happens when you have a jamming effect. So with that being said, there's just multiple levels of problems. But it looks cool. I'm going to grant that. So here's another problem. I'm going to ignore the video stuff, because we're just throwing a few rules out of the world and just say, okay, you can have that technology in your head. Well, here's the thing: is the kid's iPhone. One of the attackers of the house watched the actual movie. I'm not trying to spoil things, but one of the attackers of that in the movie, their phone actually connects to the Wi-Fi. And as far as this goes, I cannot find during this entire movie any real indication why that kid, the attacker, will actually be going to the other kid's house, the victim's house, at all. And then on top of that, it's the phone automatically connecting and stuff like that, and showing the logs and stuff like that. That is iffy unto itself. The phone automatically connecting. Okay, if the phone previously connected to the Wi-Fi spot, and if associating all that stuff, fine, it will connect like that. But here's the problem with the log itself. This might seem like nitpicking or whatever, but most logs out there, they will not show the device name. They will show the actual MAC address, because the thing is device ABC connected to router at such and such time. Fine, but what happens if you change the device name? Well, the MAC address is the reason why most logs just use that instead. They might use the device name plus the MAC address, but as far as I can tell from here, there is no actual MAC address that's involved with this. Basically when something's connected, and it might be something I missed or something, but when something's connected in that little universe, the device name goes next to a timestamp of the actual when it's connected, which is problems into itself because a MAC address theoretically won't change. At least in most contents, it really won't because most people don't know how to change their MAC address, and it's unique per device theoretically. But the device name definitely could change, and that will cause problems into itself. Then you go into even further. I just want to mention this. With today's time and whatever, the premise of this little section is you can have some kids that go into this girl's house and tries to rape her. Well, they obviously have some knowledge into technology. Well, wouldn't the police and stuff actually know who done it based on timestamps of the actual router, what's connected to it? So yeah. Oh, and I forgot to add one more thing. In order for him to even look at a logs in the first place, he'll have to have admin control. So yeah. Did he set up the Wi-Fi router and stuff like that and do a password saver on the phone and whatever, and that's how it knows how to get into the admin section? So this just basically gets more into what I was talking about in one of the previous sections, is how would the cell phone know what type of interface to put out, and also finding the exact location per device that for it to actually put the information above the right thing. Because okay, one girl's texting, the other girl is playing games or something like that, and how does the device know which one does what? So yeah. I mean, it's just basic things like that with this section, and it's a common thing out there in this movie.
If I gave you the option to walk away, would you take it?
What?
If I gave you the option to walk away and never come back, would you take it?
Why the fuck would I do that?
Just thought I'd ask first.
Now, I admit that these scenes are kind of cool, being able to blow up a electronic device remotely and whatever. And this is partially true that this can happen. Basically, one of the biggest things is in electrical power grids and a few other things, you can basically, that has fans, you can remotely stop the fan, like in a computer. You can remotely stop certain the cooling systems and certain things like nuclear power plants. You can remotely stop certain things as long as you can gain access to it. As far as something like phones, I don't think that this is possible at all, mostly because he's trying to overheat the battery, right? If you're able to control the voltage, maybe I don't want to get too deep into this particular video, but if you overload a wire, it can blow up like that. But basically, in this case, he will have to find a way to overload the battery and blow it up. And that's, I think it would be impossible to do that. However, it could highly be easy for him to, I don't know, hack into something, surge all the lights in that room, to blow up the lights, and it's even possible, believe it or not, it's even possible to even go to the point where he can actually surge so much energy into that room, like say you had the power to do that in the first place. If you surge enough energy into light bulbs, they will blow up, but in the meantime, it can then create a EMP blast. It will, EMP blasts For this case, it'll be off and right back on type of thing. So it might be enough to do whatever it might be. But for the most part, yeah, he shouldn't really be able to do that with phones itself. But for other devices, maybe, depending on the device itself, it has the cooling, and if you can shut down the cooling and stuff like that. So in this section, basically, he's recording whatever on other people's laptops and devices. And the problem here is, what is he saving the information to? That's a major thing that you gotta keep in mind. Is he saving it to the brain, or is it maybe there's a cloud service or what it may be? But yeah, I don't think that would work too well. I mean, if you're able to link it up to a cloud service and you're able to somehow remotely record, fine. Now, for real world stuff and hacking and whatever, it is possible to tap into other people's cameras and stuff. You need to normally infect their devices, which it's fairly easy into itself in most cases. And one thing I would advise you to take a look at is, on my main channel, I got a video on the service called Prey. It's basically a service where if your laptop or device gets stolen or lost, you can actually remotely tell it to, hey, start recording. It has technically malware on it, but you know it's on it, you're controlling it. So if someone steals it, you can remotely say record, and the person doesn't know, just keylog and all the other stuff. But that is very much possible. Best way you can protect yourself against these type of things is simply antiviruses, firewalls, and stuff of this nature. Basically know what software's on your computer. Now, while this part is actually pretty funny, the thing to note is this is only possible if the devices that are being affected or indirectly being affected has some type of IoT feature, some type of ability to connect to a remote system. So, for example, maybe smart light bulbs, or a toy that has some Wi-Fi ability to it, or something around this point. And then what will basically be required for a hacker to do this, saying that the person has that, you would have to first figure out the IP address of the individuals. They would have to have port forwarding set up. They would have weak to no passwords. And what that means is you're going to have to know quite a bit to start with. In this case, let's just throw out finding that person's IP address. Well, the thing is you'll need to do a port scan on stuff. I got into this in my main channel, but basically what happens here is you can then crack into this stuff, or you can go ahead and basically, if the person doesn't have any passwords, which actually does happen, believe it or not, you can have full control. For example, with the lights going on and off, the toy make it sound or whatever it may be, you can trigger that stuff. Now, with that being said, that lamp, those lights and stuff do not look like they are smart devices. They do not look like they're IoT devices. I obviously haven't seen TV, but based on what else is in a room, I doubt that is a smart TV. And what this basically means is, no, that's not possible unless if, like, for TV you have a IR blaster, and I actually have videos on this, on how to make a DVR and a computer into a DVR, and that requires this IR blaster, and the IR blaster controls the TV through that method, like a remote control. Or let's say the plug-in, maybe the lamp switch is always on, but because the plug is IoT, or it's like some type of smart plug or something like that, the person can control it and turn it on and off and whatever with their phone or whatever it may be. And you got devices like this, so technically that's possible, but based on things to this degree, no, it's just not really going to happen. Simply because there's no way to control the device in the first place. Let's say just throw out security and a few other things on top of that. There's just no way to remotely control the device in the first place. Yeah.
Bro, I beg you hurry up, bro. It's all B out here, man.
I've started bare cards, bro. Don't rush me. Don't.
Let him focus. Let him focus.
Give me that. Hurry up. I was gonna say to you obviously now, but it's different in here, man.
Why are you locking the door?
I didn't lock the fucking door, Cass, man. Shut your mouth. I didn't lock the door.
You didn't open the door.
I swear down, I didn't lock the door, bro. I didn't lock the door. I swear to you.
Start it then.
I didn't fucking start that. Why have you done it then, bro? I didn't start that.
I know what you did.
Who the fuck are you?
Revving up the car, man.
Look at my legs, bro.
Stop fucking moving the car.
I got a smoke coming from the car, man.
Open the fucking door. There's smoke coming out. Oh my God.
Why did you attack the workers?
Bro, we got told you. We had no choice. Shut the fuck up, Cass, man.
Who told you to?
Shut the fuck up, Cass. It was the boss. We didn't want to. I'm sorry. I ain't telling you again, bro. Shut the fuck up.
Who's your boss?
Shut your mouth. Go Oh, shit.
Give me his name.
Fuck the fucking door, man. The door, bro. Cass. Oh, fuck.
Give me your name.
I ain't dying in no shit, you go, bro. Shut the fuck up. I told you to shut
Your
up.
name. Now.
It was Kurt! It was Kurt! He made us do it!
So as far as this part goes, can that car actually do that? The age of what it looks like, I'm not good with cars. I can't tell you what age it is and whatever, but I don't think so from the age. But if there is actual multiple cars that has security flaws, that does allow for some of that. So the thing to note is some car manufacturers, they for some reason linked up the media center Bluetooth systems. So like if your cell phone might be connected to your radio so you can play music through it and whatever, and do GPS and whatever. For some weird reason, a lot of car manufacturers, they don't take security serious. And this is actually, there's actual a few times where this is actually came close to killing people, or in some instances, there's actual stuff going out there that a reporter in the United States actually died due to espionage, took over their car and just had them go real fast into something and blew it up through that method. Now, as far as that goes, if the car has crap security, yes, it's totally possible, but most cars don't. But here's the thing: is let's say even if this car has good security. Security is not really meant to keep people out. That's a big myth a lot of people believe. Security is actually to make it so resource intensive that people don't want to get in. It's a bike lock versus a vault. The reason why you don't secure a bank with a bike lock is because, well, it takes only seconds to break that, where a bank vault, it takes hours in some cases. So with that, it's just too resource intensive to break in. Same thing with electronics and whatever, same matter. But here's the problem: is since security is not really meant to keep things out, because if places have a security mindset, none of these features will be connected to any remote system at all. There will be no way for someone to remotely control any given part besides maybe the radio or something like that, which can't really kill someone. It'll just annoy someone to all out until they get it fixed. So what happens with some of these car manufacturers is they actually have it where the steering, in some cases, the steering, the engine, the other parts of the car is connected through the same computer. They don't separate the computers. They don't separate the systems at all from that to the media system. So the hacker just has to get access into the media system, which is usually some type of Bluetooth to radio, or the phone or laptop has a virus on it, or the phone gets hacked and it goes just from there, sends signal through there. All the hacker has to do is understand what signals to connect to. Many manufacturers have fixed this, but so there has to be some physical access to this. Now, let's say that the hacker had physical access to the car previously. There's something on each car, I think 95 and newer, is called OBD2 port. The newer the car is, the more features this is granted. I can go on my car, my 98 Cavalier, and throw an OBD2 connector onto it, and not much is going to happen because the computer is not connected to a lot of these devices. The computer is connected to the temperature sensor and a few other things, but for most parts, mechanically, it's just not going to happen. However, in many of these newer cars, you got like the Teslas, where it's self-driving, obviously, but then you got other things where you can literally hook up an OBD2 port plug-in into the car, and what happens is you gain access to remotely lock and unlock the car with the phone, to turn on and off lights, to crank up the engine, to rev the engine, whatever it may be. And this might sound like horrible into itself, but a person has to have physical access into the car to start with. But the reason for this is more than that. For a lot of features like revving the engine, to controlling a cooling system, to controlling these other minor features, that's mostly for mechanics. But the problem is the car manufacturers. It's like most other things. Like Social Security, it's vulnerable if you have a Social Security number +1, -1, and you got someone else's security number, and with it being plus or -1, it's probably someone who's born in the same year, if not even in the same hospital. So with that being in mind, I mean, you got systems that are real old. They didn't think about security in this aspect, and it's just as it is. But going into the future, I hope that this changes. But even still, then there will still be some vulnerabilities, and the person again has to have physical access. So you got bigger problems. With that being said, how did the hacker get physical access? That's your biggest question. Now, with that being said, they might be able to go around and do a runaround if you got something like, and I don't like using company names, but this is just a famous one. I'm not saying, I want to be very clear, I'm not saying that their company is insecure. It's just that what they do, they're the most famous one, OnStar. OnStar has a feature on there if they detect someone stole your car, right, and they're running down the highway. Depending on what you gave them access to, I guess, I never played with OnStar, but I've seen the commercials and stuff, is basically if someone stole your car, to run down the highway, they can track it with GPS, obviously. That's a big thing into itself, and that's old. But then on top of that, they can lock the car, and they can basically stop the engine or slow down the engine, make it like 15-mile-an-hour limits, stuff like that. So theoretically, I'm not saying OnStar is insecure. I want to be very clear. So don't sue me, OnStar. Just don't. But theoretically, that could be used to unlock the doors and basically the person gets access to it from that, and that way, that's your physical access. So if they don't have any prior understanding of picking locks or whatever it may be for cars, which is actually incredibly easy, if you don't believe me, and let's say that your insurance, most insurances out there have one free unlocking, like if you left your keys in the car, and you can call up your insurance, they will have someone for free. Some insurances for free come out there and lock your car. They'll some of them have like 1 free, 2 free, or something like that. And past that, you're going to have to pay a little bit. Well, basically, if you use that service, like let's say for example, if it's like per year and not just like per lifetime, if you just like before the yearly thing is about to run out, if you use that just on purpose or whatever, you can see that it just most cars, you can either take a tennis ball and whack it and it'll unlock the thing by air pressure, or you can use that metal bar thing and they'll unlock it. I was surprised with that. Basically, someone could come up, unlock your car, and like that, and if they know how to hotwire it, then they're gone. There's no way stopping someone. That's something that I found interesting, because if you really want to protect your car, the only way I think that there is an actual possible way is by having GPSs on it, and even then, maybe some type of car alarm system that's hooked up to some third-party stuff. So like a house alarm, if house alarm goes off on most systems, some third-party system picks it up. A person actually picks in and say, "Hey, I think someone's burglarized in your house," and they'll call the cops immediately. Same thing here. If you can get that type of system, that's the only way I know that can be done. But keep in mind, most areas don't have internet signal or ability to communicate, unless it's through like some type of satellite. But then, even then, there's ways to stop that. So, with that being said, that's it's scary, but yes, that is totally possible on some cars, especially the more abilities the car manufacturer gives to a computer, turning the wheel, speed, engine, whatever, the more that is possible. And as far as some people might say, oh, it's not possible for the thing to overheat so quickly and catch on fire, I'd say BS. I actually had a similar problem right like that before. It didn't catch on fire that quick, but it wasn't revving. It just shut down the coolant system, and crap, that thing goes up like crazy. I had a problem with one of my cars with the coolant system, and that almost ruined everything, and almost caught things on fire, like started smoking. Let's put it that way. So yeah, that is totally possible.
On him. Come on.
Now, as far as the sound portion of it, is that possible? I'm going to say, where did the sound come from? And because of that, I'm going to say in this case, no. But can you use sound as an actual weapon? The answer to that is totally yes. There's actual, when I was going through NASA and stuff, the airspace classes, one of the things that we learned is there's sound frequency that is well below human, well above or above human hearing range. What happens is, if that sound is loud enough, it can actually create physical damage. So you don't hear it, but it is actually creating physical damage. All you know is you're getting a headache or some other problem. There's also sound that's definitely within our hearing range that can also create problems into itself. But you can definitely cause stuff like headaches, hallucinations. There's even ability, and obviously in this case, it's not going to, show that because it'll be a little bit too graphic, but it is possible where you can use sound to, there's a layer between your skin and the inner of your body, and basically it's some type of like almost like a gelatin type stuff, and basically you can use sound to actually vibrate that to the point where it doesn't really hold, and you can actually cause major problems, death, biggest one, but it's definitely possible to cause people to bleed through their pores of their skin due to this, and it's not supposed to be a good thing at all. With that being said, though, for this case, okay, let's say that maybe their phones were in their pocket. How would you get their phones to make the sound? That's the biggest thing that you got to worry about. And then even more so, directing the sound. That's a major thing, because anyone who's played around with their phone, if you put your finger over the speaker, you ain't hearing nothing through it. Well, the same thing here is, well, how are you going to get them to actually hear the sound, or more so make it so intensive? Because there's a range that any given speaker can do, and with that being said, it's like, how are you actually going to cause it? So in this case, I'll say no. But in general, yes, it is totally possible. Look it up. There's even sound weapons on the White House lawn and stuff, and there's suppressive type of equipment. It's not meant to do the killing type of thing or massive, other permanent problems. It's meant to stop you in your track. There's the same thing with lights. If you there's certain type of lights that you can flicker in front of someone, and it instantaneously causes them to start throwing up. There's tricks you can do with the human body, because we're basically computers, and it's all programming. You just need to know how to program right to get the response you want. In this case, sound causing the person to basically go on the ground. And then you got things like ultrasonic. Anyone who's played around with ultrasonic when they're a kid, or in some cases adults, if you ain't pulling out your hearing, yeah, you definitely know that there's some sound that will knock you down to the ground, simply because you can hear it, whereas someone adult or whatever that can't hear it, they can't at all. And I remember a news report actually done that to me, and when I was a kid, and my parents, they couldn't hear at all. And as far as that goes, yes, that is possible, but the problem goes right back into the range of the speakers, and then on top of that, can you even hear the speakers itself? I remember when I was in school, just add it into here, when I was in school, high school, some of the other kids that had cell phones and stuff, they basically put ultrasonic ringtones on their thing. It ticked off half the kids half the time, but over time you tweak it enough where it's not going to be a problem, where it's very quick, or it's not a problem, because there's certain ranges that aren't a problem. And basically the teacher won't know that the kid got a text message, but the kid and everybody else in class definitely would. So yeah.
What is that? What is it you're doing? You've got a little look in your eye like you're busy. Why, Tom? You a busy little bee? What are you looking for? Do you know?
So as far as this part, basically he's trying to do a facial recognition scanning stuff. Is this possible to just do on the fly? And the answer is kind of. If you can get these IP cameras, most IP cameras are dumb and whatever, so the answer to that's going to be no. But if you set up the parameters into the camera, because just doing facial recognition and having a massive database of faces and stuff in the cameras itself is unreasonable in itself. So what would end up happening here is if you're able to read the face and send that off to some offsite site, something like some type of cloud service or something like that, that will look at the face and that will, analyze it and figure out what it is. It only takes the difference between this and here is it only takes a picture and it only takes a few seconds to really do it. Honestly, the stuff has been so fine-tuned that it can easily figure out who someone is if it has previous information on them, which is, cool and creepy at the same time. But some companies use this to make sure wrong people aren't coming in and stuff like that. But with that in mind, there's probably a few other things I can cover in this particular video. And then the fact is this is actually not a bad movie into itself. It's actually pretty good into itself. I highly recommend that you check it out. It's a Netflix original, iBoy. I really hope they actually turn this into a TV show or maybe push it to go into the Marvel universe. It honestly, something like this I can easily see taking off. But with that being said, it is pretty good and it's worth a look at least. So as far as that goes, feel free to check that out, and also feel free to check out my other videos, like subscribe, whatever. But if you feel like I was wrong at a given portion, then feel free to let me know, and let me know exactly why. Why am I wrong on something? Or if you learned something, let me know, and check out my other videos and check out my main channel. You might be able to learn a little bit more there. But anyways, see you in the next video. Hope you have